Move around, Serge.
Yeah, there's a pretty substantial delay. All right.
Don't move around a lot.
There we go.
Well,
You're live.
You just moved.
That's fine.
Don't use the confetti.
Hello, are we live?
We're live.
We're doing it live.
Woo!
All right. Welcome to the October Catalina Wine Mixer edition of the Philly Macadam's meeting. First, before we get started, I want to wish our fellow compatriot Mike a happy birthday, since his birthday was yesterday. He's currently somewhere in a much warmer climate, enjoying his time off. But be sure to flood his DMs with happy birthday wishes. So we're just going to get right into it because we got a lot to cover. We'll just go right into what's new. So we're going to talk about Catalina tonight, obviously. Also iOS 13, iPadOS, tvOS, and watchOS. The new updates for Office 2019/365. Some stuff that happened on the security front since last we were here, and some items of interest, and the conference list. And tonight we also have a special Jamf update and a brief little presentation on Loan Shark. So we'll just have more about that later. So first up. So Catalina. Catalina was released on 10/7/2019, and like most people, it took everybody by surprise. Because we had only had one version of the GM, and it felt like there was going to be at least another second version of the GM, but no, they decided to release. So, what's new with Catalina? Major feature-wise, iTunes is gone. It's replaced with Apple Music, Apple TV, Apple Podcasts, and all the iPhone syncing now happens in the Finder instead of iTunes, obviously. Also, Catalyst, which is a new feature to Catalina, allows developers to bring their iPad apps to the Mac. So we should expect a lot more Mac apps that work on the Mac coming soon. Also, you can use Sidecar with an iPad to act as a second monitor, which is great if you have an iPad Pro and you have like a MacBook Air and then you can do the dual monitor stuff. I've tried it out, it works pretty nice. And of course, there's a bunch of other stuff like Screen Time, Find My app, which brings like all the Find My applications into like one thing now. The redesigned Reminders app, updated Photos, Safari, and all the other apps, and there's more. So for that, of interest to us, however, is iOS style notification controls, which means users get prompted for more bonus. So anything that used to just automatically do notifications on Mojave and earlier, now if you've noticed after you're upgraded, you'll get a slew of prompts coming down saying, this app wants to be able to give you notifications, and users can approve it or not. From an admin point of view, we can actually manage and configure those via configuration profile. It uses the same domain as the iOS. So, but I don't think anybody has a dedicated Mac version for that. So a lot of people have been building their own profiles. I don't think it was in Jamf Pro 16. I don't think any of the NDMs have it out yet specifically for Mac OS. But yes, you can create your own and sign it and upload it, and it should work. The important thing to note about that is that if you decide to manage that, users cannot change any of that. So either it's managed or it's unmanaged. So you need to think about which applications you actually want to manage notifications for. Because some users may want to actually manage their own notifications. The privacy controls have been expanded to include app access to documents, desktop, download folders, iCloud Drive, third-party cloud storage, removable media, and external volumes. So more prompts there. I haven't seen it yet, and it hasn't come up in my testing. But anybody who has SMD distribution points who use Jamf may run into this. So that's something to keep aware of that. So it might be time to switch over to HTTPS or do a cloud distribution point if you can do that, just to avoid that. You're also prompted for keylogging and screen capture / recording. And as far as I know, you can only blacklist those through configuration profile. Also, now for T2 Max with Catalina, you get activation lock. If it's AVM, ASM enrolled and MDM enrolled, you can now enable and allow it, which is basically sort of manage that. So you can have it off for those T2 Max until you want it to be on. But if it's not ASM, AVM enrolled, and MDM enrolled, if you automatically upgrade to Catalina and it's a T2 Mac, that's automatically on. Which can be problematic if it's a company-owned device and it's not, and it's locked to that particular user. So, if you have an NDM, you can retrieve and clear the bypass codes. And also new in Catalina's Bootstrap tokens for mobile accounts to enable file. These are for when your workflow doesn't include creating a local admin account through automated deployment. Instead, you're joining a directory service of some sort, usually AD. This is primarily for AD. And the Bootstrap token means that the first AD account or mobile account log in and then gets the secure token, so then can enable file vault, because prior to that in Mojave and High Sierra, there was always an iffy question whether or not those accounts would get a secure token, and that would cause a lot of problems because you couldn't enable file vault because nobody had the secure token, and lots of workarounds to get around it. So this is at least one step closer to making sure that every first account, regardless of what it is, gets a secure token. Also new in Catalina is user enrollment for Bring Your Own Device. And this is done through managed Apple IDs in both Apple School Manager and Apple Business Manager. Part of that is that, and there's some other stuff that allows you to manage like app access through that as well. I haven't really looked into it because we don't do BYOD, but it's a pretty big deal for a lot of organizations. So, also you have SSO extensions. Right now, there's only one for Active Directory, but the promise for SSO extensions means that there could be one coming for other third-party auth, like Google, Okta, Ping, that sort of thing. But the Active Directory one is essentially Enterprise Connect Lite. Enterprise Connect is an app, separate app is going to go away, and most of that functionality, or at least some of it anyway, is going to be replicated, is already replicated in the SSO extension, like password changing and all those requirements and stuff. So like the basic stuff in Enterprise Connect is there. So yeah, at some point Enterprise Connect will be going away in favor of this. And this is configured by a profile. I've tested it out in betas and works pretty well for the most part. So problem for us is that we have like 4 domains, so I gotta figure out how to distribute those profiles for per domain. But if you only have 1 domain, it's great. So there's a bunch of security updates, not as much as you think would come in an OS update, but there's like at least a dozen CVEs that are closed in 10.15, at least in this build of 10.15. So, speaking of this build of 10.15, it's immediately surpassed by the supplemental update, 1986.02, which came out on the 15th, so last week. And this one improves the reliability of installations on Macs with low disk space. So there was an issue with a lot of people who didn't have a lot of space left. They had just enough that it would sometimes work. So this update fixed that. Also fixed an issue, prevented setup assistant from completing during the installation. And then I saw a lot of chatter about that as well. And also another issue that prevents accepting iCloud terms and conditions when multiple iCloud accounts are logged in. So, so this probably should have been the GM, the release, but there were actually no, when I say there were no security fixes, there was no CVEs in this particular release. But, we have another build, 19A603, which came out on the 21st. And I was not able to find anything that was different about this build other than, the build number. And there was no security fixes, so who knows? What's the difference between 602? Although it could be, because we found out because of what's happening today, is it could be just a certificate issue.
That was the general consensus.
So
we could this is literally the definition of we'll fix it in post.
Yeah. So 603, 19A603 is the current version. Going back to Mojave for a bit, since we were last here, there was a supplemental update released for that, 18G87. That was released back on August 5th. And then at the end of August, there was another supplemental update, 18G95. And there was this was supplemental update 2. 18G103 was released on the 26th of September. This also includes security updates for High Sierra and Sierra. So I'm thinking these supplemental updates were basically security updates for the most part, but they couldn't call them security updates because that was a current version, because of how Apple versions things, because they're Apple. But essentially, 18G103 is the last version of, or the current version, latest version of Mojave. So iOS 13. That was released on the 19th of September, pretty much right after the press event. So the thing about iPhone is iOS 13 is for iPhone only now, and it's for the 6S or SE or newer. So yeah, the 5s are done, and so the original 6s too. So we're stuck on 12.4.2, I think it is. And of course, dark mode is what we're upgrading to iOS 13 for. Also, there's improved photo editing, FaceTime, Face ID, battery life was improved, camera, Siri, and more. You also get the QuickPad keyboards, so you can swipe to type, like you used to be able to do in Android, if you ever had an Android for forever. So you get to sign in with Apple and the new emoji. And the security content, there was 23 open CVs that were closed on this, and affecting 14 different processes. For management stuff, we get the user enrollment stuff that we talked about earlier for iPhones via ABM, SEM, and MEADS. Managed Apple IDs. There was changes with Catalina iOS 13 to the app distribution. It's now custom apps instead of what was it, the B2B store, and what was the EDU version? But it's essentially, they're just calling it custom apps, and it's the same thing. So and there's more stuff that's not ready for the business side yet. Just available for EDU at this point, as is most things when Apple changes. It's EDU first, then business second.
Base has been.
SSO extensions are actually now a thing in iOS 13. So you could do an AD Kerberos extension for iOS iPhones. I don't know why you would, but you could do it right now.
So like you could like sign into the Wi-Fi network and automatically
Possibly.
set their email.
Right. But I think Azure AD and Okta and Ping and stuff like that is more the road ahead there. So.
iOS 13 supports SMB shares.
Oh, it does.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Nice.
okay.
Yep.
So there's your answers. You can do SMB shares. But we didn't talk about this on the Catalina side, but you can do custom enrollment off for automated deployment via SAML now. And there's a whole thing about customizing. When I say customizing, you can make it like have your company splash screen show up, and then you can sign in and it authenticates to your ADFS or whatever is using SAML. All the examples I've seen have been ADFS. I don't know if it works with Ping and Okta. I'm assuming it does if it's SAML, if it's anything SAML. So, but I just haven't seen any examples recently of that. And there's some restriction changes in some of the profiles. Some of them are now deprecated, and others are new ones have been introduced. Changes to Classroom and for the EDU folks. So, and again, it's been a little over a month. So we already have an update 13.1 because they released 13.0. And immediately said 13.1 was coming the next week, and they were right. It came out 13.1. There were some features included with 13.1 that weren't included with 13.0. And again, people are like, well, why didn't you just wait until it released everything? But Apple's gonna Apple. So. Security content. 13.1 didn't have a lot. They just had 4 CVEs over 3 processes. And then a week later, they came out with 13.1.1, and that addresses a single at CVE. So it was a very important security fix. If they had a separate for there, and at the end of September at 9:30, they released 13.1.2, and that's just bug fixes because there wasn't any security content on that either. So in less than a month, we've now iterated 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So. And earlier this month, 13.1.3 was also released. And again, that looks like it was just a bug fix update, no CVEs closed. So that's 5 iterations since we went live with iOS 13. So iOS 13 splits off iPad and iPhone. So iPad OS is now its own thing. Again, released the same day. If you have an iPad Air 2, an iPad Mini 4, or iPad 2017, or an iPad Pro 9.7, or newer than those, you can run iPad OS. If not, you're out of luck. You're stuck on iOS 12. And of course, this is pretty much the same as iOS for the most part. You get dark mode. You get the new home screen. They've rearranged some things on the iPad home screen. Sidecar, obviously, and you can get like split view and swipe over, which are new ways to manage how things just show up in your iPad screen. And there's more stuff in there. Big is that USB drive and SD card. SD, that should be SD cards. So, typo. And of course, SMB share support. And another big change is that you can now do desktop version websites as opposed to mobile version. So, and mouse support. Like iOS 13, it's pretty much the same. CVEs were closed, affecting the same processes there. And for iterations, yes, pretty much the same story. 13 iPad OS was released around the same time. 13.1, because it's iPad OS is the same version as iOS. Version number, I mean. And it's pretty much the same as I addressed with iOS. So it's the same version.
That's not going to get confusing ever at all.
No. Absolutely, it will never be confusing. So, and again, same for the management side, same changes there. Going back to iOS 12, while we were away, 12.4.1 was released, and there was a single CVE patch that was a major bug fix there, or a security fix there. And 12.4.2 was released. Again, same thing, they were patching a single CVE on that. So, now we're talking about tvOS 13 and watchOS 6. tvOS 13 was released as with the other mobile OSs. The big change here is that now it supports multiple users, and you can now use PS4 and Xbox controllers with that. I haven't tried that out yet, but I will. And also the control center, which now I completely forget what that's all about. It's a smaller security content than this. Only 15 CDs affecting 6 processes. And watchOS I had to break out because there's more stuff for this. So watchOS 6, so you get new watch faces. App Store is now on the watch. Siri improvements, activity trends, cycle tracking, hearing health. They're pretty much making the watchOS more of a health device than anything else at this point. They're really leaning into that. The big news about watchOS 6 is currently the first and second generation watches aren't currently supported, but they say they'll be supported in later updates. Well, I guess we'll see at some point, which is unfortunate. I mean, I got a Series 2 here that I'm still stuck on 5 for. So. Another small security content there, 6 CDs affecting 5 processes. And watchOS was also iterated to .1. There's no security content on that, so that was just bug fixes. And going back, so we've got 12.4.1 for tvOS. That was a single CVE patch plus bug fixes. And watchOS 5.3.1 was released at the end of August, and that was a bug fix update. And 5.3.2 was released at the end of September, which was mostly, I think, Catalina compatibility and iOS 13 compatibility, make sure things still worked with that for like the Series 1 and 2 for devices we're stuck on those. And also a single CVE patch on that one. So that's all the Apple stuff. Moving on to Office. 1629 was released in the middle of September, and 1630 was released in the middle of October. And for 2016, they patched both those, so the current version is 16.16.15, which means next month we'll get 16.16.16, and we'll have Yahtzee. Also, our update was revved to 14.16 over while we were away. The big news is that 16.31, when it drops next month, will only support High Sierra and above. So, Microsoft's been pretty clear about being supporting N-2. Although I think they initially said they were going to support N-1.
They got backlash from that.
Yes, and then they got Mac admin and decided to go N2. But yeah, so High Sierra is going to be the latest. Doesn't mean that things won't work. Like 1630 will continue to work on Sierra, as far as I know. You just won't be able to update at that point. But at some point, it's probably going to be a feature or a service that is only going to be available to the current. So you should be getting off Sierra anyway, since nobody supports it. So security roundup. So of course the big thing if you hadn't heard, was vasectomy. That was, if you haven't known, that was where a flaw in Google's Keystone Update app was removing the /var symlink from Macs that were not SIP protected. So, and it was basically one of those things where if you had SIP protection on, and probably because it was being tested with devices that had SIP protection on, nobody noticed it because it wouldn't allow it to actually change. But then if you had SIP protection off, then that's when you got hit with it. So basically, once the var symlink was removed, then if you rebooted, nobody was happy. So it was just a bad time all around. So this is one of those things where people started reporting it. I think it was avid users in Hollywood studios noticed it, and then it became a thing. And then over the weekend, it made the papers at that point on Monday because this thing broke. Apple broke stuff, and then when everybody came in on Monday, they started actually digging into it. And if you followed it, there was a whole channel on Mac admins. So if you followed it, they went down and figured out it was that, and then they told Google, and Google fixed it. And it's been fine. It's been fine since then. It is fine now.
Nice.
So,
Well,
but
yeah,
yes,
our
that
stream
was.
on YouTube just died. What the heck?
So, also while we were away, Checkmate, which is a specific iOS device exploit, but I think it only affected certain versions of iOS.
Hardware.
Hardware, I'm sorry. Certain versions of the hardware. So I think was it
iPhone
like
10 and below.
Yeah, iPhone 10 and below. So it's pretty much everything that's out there. So, currently. But it's you basically have to have access to the device to do that. So nobody's going to be remotely exporting your iOS device unless hand it to somebody who just wants to look at it. But it's pretty it's fixed in I think the 11s. But it's one of those things where you could do a lot with that. So, and the other thing is that once the exploit works for as long as that device is on. If you reboot the device, then you have to re-exploit it at that point. So it's not very practical, except for very limited situations. Also, while we were away, reports came out of North Korean-sponsored hackers targeting macOS via fake cryptocurrency companies and apps. So I think this was specifically targeted for certain high-value targets. It's not. Average users weren't particularly targeted by this, so it was pretty bad. But I don't think most people had anything to worry about as far as that. But the write-up comes up, and of course Patrick Warder was involved in part of this. So, and also recently, iTerm, a regular Mozilla audit found a security flaw in iTerm. And there was a mad rush to update to 3.3.6 for everybody using iTerm, which is a lot. We have a lot of people using iTerm. I'm sure most developers are probably either using iTerm. I don't think a lot of hardcore developers use just straight terminal. It's only like iTerm or zterm or something. So there was a lot of consternation about that. And Zendesk finally disclosed a 2016 data breach. It's only 3 years later. So.
They were still writing their email.
Yes, they made sure I have to go through the tickets system.
Yeah. Had to go through all the approvals.
Right.
They're probably using Zendesk.
So the WebEx Zoom meetings were found to be vulnerable, and I guess there was another mad dash to make sure certain versions were patched. I think think the big thing of it was like a lot of these meetings apps, and like Zoom app in particular, was rebranded for a lot of different companies. And I think the commonality for all of these was that there was a local, there was essentially a local web server installed on all of these that was problematic. So for most of this, Apple released, right on my hand, but they basically like released the security updates, pushed them out, and just basically just nuked that web server for Windows. So
Wasn't it a gatekeeper thing?
it was a gate. No, it was not gatekeeper.
It was MRT?
X-Protect.
X-Protect.
X-Protect. It was
One of those.
X-Protect.
One of the things. Zoom just can't get away.
Yes. So also, a WebKit flaw exposes Apple open source software to malvertising redirects. So that was a fun one. And
Most secure.
last, a LastPass bug leaked credentials from the previous site. So make sure you update your LastPass if you're using it.
I reported this to them before they disclosed it, and they're like, "Oh, it's just a normal thing." This was months ago.
Yeah, it's always like responsible disclosure versus, companies not wanting to disclose anything at all. Items of interest. So while we were away, Monkey 3.6.4 was released that fixes a repo auto-detect bug. Bigger news for Monkey folks is that 3.7 is currently in beta, and this version removes the dependency on Apple's Python, since 2.0.2.7 is officially end of life in December 31st. So everybody's now, it's the big move, migration to Python 3 for everybody. I think they're bundling a version of Python 3, or at least enough for that Monkey. So Monkey looks at its own version of Python for lots of this. So that's my understanding, at least. If anybody knows more, please let me know. Or just chime in on the channel. Also, while we were away, I know last time we talked, that auto packager finally got a release after a couple of years, and it got another update. This one fixes the JSS importer looking, so it actually updates JSS importer based on where the new project is located, as opposed to the other versions, which are still looking at Shay Craig's GitHub repo. And we talked about this briefly earlier today, and I managed to squeeze it in here. But as of today, one of Apple's OS installer certs expired, which pretty much covers, I think, everything that's prior to. The only things that were updated that we saw, at least as of this afternoon, was that 10.13.6 was updated. I think 10.14.5 and 10.14.6 were also updated, and of course Catalina wasn't affected. The Catalina installers weren't affected, but those are essentially the only things that I've gotten, at least as far as OS installers, that I've gotten updates. Also, if you use Enterprise Connect, anything that was 2.04 or earlier was hit by this, but they released 2.05 earlier in the week, so you need to update that, and that's apparently called out in the release notes. So yeah. So that's something that happened today. The link actually goes to Robert Hammond's Medium post about that, because he's the one who I think who was looking at it like a month or so ago and say, "Hey,
Apple.
yeah."
Yeah.
So conferences. Already talking about 2020. Macaduck is now doing a call for speakers. So if anybody wants to go to London, maybe you can go as a speaker. WWC, the voted videos are still up. Mac deployment, the Mac DevOps YVR, those are still up. PSU Mac. PSU Mac admin videos are still up. Mac system admin videos are up. The Mac Tech conference was just last week ago. Yeah, just last week.
So
Where was that?
that was in LA. And I don't think any, well, it doesn't look by their website like anything was recorded, but if anybody knows any different, please let us know. And of course, next up is the Japanese User Conference. So, and that's in a couple of weeks. So,
quite a few of us will be there, right?
What? A few of us should be there, yes.
You going, Chuck?
Yeah.
Come find
They pay
us
for
for
you?
stickers.
Yeah, we'll have some stickers, and I don't think we have any buttons left.
I might have
I
some.
my button. I have one.
We might.
Right, so we might have a couple of buttons. So if you see us in Chain at least hit us up for stickers. So, and I'm going to cede the floor to Derek from Jamf when he gets back, I guess. And then
That will be him.
and he's going to tell us about some things that are happening at Jamf. And after that, Tara's
news for
going to
you
talk
as
to us
well.
about Loan Shark, which is an open source project.
But the screen has to be up.
So we're going to do a switch now, so pay no attention to the band behind the curtain. You're up.
Woo!
We're just gonna let it go. Thank you. Listen. We can ask.
There's gonna be like a brief.
You know what guard's coming in. Let's shoot me first.
Probably just get a big band.
You try turning it off and turning it back on.
Literally.
Seriously.
Control delete.
There we go.
Still not working.
It's coming up now. Yeah, I finally got the display at least. Maybe my top case and keyboard has to get replaced again.
Again?
For the third time.
For the keyboard? Yeah, I had one that got replaced twice as well.
Maybe we'll come.
Didn't I? I don't know whether they're going back to the old keyboards.
Yeah,
Let's see.
or something new.
So if you're the agent,
He's never been crazy. It's gonna be triple,
Isn't that the coolest thing?
triple.
Yeah, probably succeeds.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go back to mechanical keyboards.
You need even
More
more
laptops. No.
I don't know how that's possible.
It would make your computer this thick.
You could do the optical cable.
It was Paul Enkin, I can understand.
That's there.
Just short hair, basically.
Cool.
What's that?
Still on there. Should be going now.
Cool. Awesome. Hey everybody, I'm Adam with Jamf. Thanks for having me here. I'm actually the systems engineer for Pennsylvania, so I've been with Jamf about 6 months now. So prior to that, I worked at Lehigh University up in Bethlehem. So I'm really happy that I actually was able to come down here and get paid for it. So you'll see me, I'll try to be here pretty often. That way, if you guys have any questions that you want to bug your normal contact at Jamf, you can bug me.
Are you still out of Bethlehem, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I actually I live up near Allentown, so I work out of my house. So I'm local. I think I'm the only one actually working in Pennsylvania at the moment. So yeah. So my contact info is up there. My LinkedIn. I'm on Slack. So if you ever need to reach me, reach out. So JNUC's coming up. I'm sure. Did you talk about JNUC at all yet?
We'll talk a little bit about it.
Okay, cool. So it's in November this year. Usually it already happened. If you're going to JNUC, dress warm.
Layers is my understanding.
Yeah.
You want to bring layers.
Who's all going to JNUC? Okay, cool. We got a good crowd. What's that?
Still trying to get funding.
I hear you. There's still some people that got funding like today, so. So for those of you who can't come to JNUC, they will post all the sessions and the keynotes they live stream. So there's gonna be a lot of like really cool announcements. We recently acquired Digita Security. If you don't know about them, they were developing like a Apple endpoint protection. So I'm sure you could put the pieces of the puzzle together and figure out what that announcement will be. Yeah, so if you are coming to JNUC, we're gonna have lots of mini events going on and stuff like that, little gatherings. But yeah, for those who can't make it, like I said, everything will be posted online, so you won't feel left out. You'll still be able to watch the sessions.
Not the same.
Yeah, you don't get beer with watching it on YouTube.
Give me 1 second, I just want to get my notes. Cool. So, is anybody on 10.16 at the moment? I know 10.16 just came out.
I don't think our cloud instance has been updated.
Yeah,
We
so
haven't even got a notification that it's going to be updated.
yeah, so there is a cloud upgrade scheduled for this weekend for a lot of customers. I know there were some issues with Apple School Manager for our education friends. So the last I heard is if you were scheduled to be upgraded this weekend, it's not going to happen. But if you want to get upgraded, you got to talk to your customer success, and they'll get you upgraded. Because apparently the issue only affected education instances. So we have a lot of new stuff. I'm going to save you guys some time now. I'm not going to go over everything, but hopefully, like I said, with me being here, I'll be able to give a little update, and it won't be as much next time. So you probably noticed Jamf Engage, where it's asking to get to know you. A lot of people, when they mention Jamf Engage, they're just like, how do I shut this off? So it can be shut off. You just need to go into all settings, system settings, and then just disable Engage. It is really helpful because it does let you know about any kind of product announcements that are going on, as well as like any kind of new features. So it is something that is helpful, but I understand it could be annoying. So yeah, our dev teams have been super hard at work trying to get everything up and ready. I'm sure, as you noticed, we have 0-day support. We've had it for the last couple of years. So that's obviously very important to you guys, not only to just be able to support your current environment that's out there, but also be able to support all the new features like Sidecar and all that fun stuff. So we're going to start talking about what's new with Mac OS. So we got a couple new payloads that could be pushed out. Things like your Apple ID, Classroom, family sharing, password, screen time, Sidecar, and Wallet and Apple Pay all can be disabled in system preferences now with a config profile. Self-service is now considered accessible, has accessibility features in it. It also supports dark mode. This is something that we had a lot of feature requests for. VoiceOver is now supported. That's a big one as far as accessibility is concerned with self-service. Obviously, all you need to do is refresh your self-service. File Vault. If you've been looking for File Vault keys lately, you might have noticed that they got moved. They're now under the computer record under the. There we go. They're now under the computer record under the inventory tab, and then you'll see disk encryption.
That's just the UI change, right?
Yeah, so it changes nothing with the API. But as you can see here on the slide, it's right there, right in the device record now. You don't have to go into management or anything like that. For iOS and iPadOS, dark mode supported. You're also able to send analytics and stuff like that. You have the option not to if you don't want to.
Is that just self-service logs, or is that also iOS?
Just self-service logs, yeah. There's a couple new iOS payloads as well that are available. For one is critical alerts. So this is killer for doctors and nurses, anybody in the healthcare industry. So they have to go through an approval process from Apple regarding is their app designated to send a critical alert. But if it is an app like that, let's say they have Do Not Disturb on, essentially that critical alert will bypass Do Not Disturb and it'll alert them, letting them know, hey, somebody had a stroke, you need to come into the hospital immediately. So that's like the number one use for the critical alerts. Also notifications for CarPlay and notification grouping. All those payloads are available now for iOS and iPadOS. This is a hot topic, is enrollment customization. So if you guys have like a EULA or any kind of instructions that you want to be presented to your users when they're going through automated enrollment, you now have the option to include that. And essentially in your Jamf Pro, you would just set it up. You would type in what you would want to appear to the end user, and then this is kind of what it looks like. So I've had a company that they didn't want to put a EULA in here, but they wanted to make their users aware of self-service and other features that were out there. One org just had users who did not know what kind of credentials they should be signing in. They were using Jamf Connect, and I guess they just had a very bad culture. So they were able to put in here, sign in with your Okta credentials. Sorry, a lot of this is useless. Cool. This is what the experience looks like on iOS. So we get our normal remote management screen, and then they're presented with that welcome message. They go ahead and sign in with their credentials, and they're good to go. We got some new network payloads that are also available. So WPA3 is available on any Apple device. And then we have some more custom VPN configurations that are also available. We also have a new updated version of the PPPC utility. So with macOS Catalina, we get all those awesome fun prompts that Sergio mentioned earlier. So you could use the PPPC utility to go ahead and create exceptions, and then that'll get uploaded into your Jamf Pro, and then the users don't have to worry about getting nagged. If you want to download it, jamf.it/PPPC. So these features that are on the next screen are still technically in preview on Apple's end. So Jamf is ready. With 10.16, these features are available. We're just kind of waiting for Apple to turn on the switch, if that makes sense. But as Sergio mentioned earlier, activation lock for macOS. We're able to go ahead and bypass that similarly like with the iOS devices. Additionally, we could just completely go ahead and disable the user from even enabling activation lock through the pre-stages. eSIM cellular plan and bootstrap tokens for mobile accounts, which Sergio mentioned earlier as well. So going back to the activation lock, it does require supervision with automated enrollment. And then again, it's very similar to the iOS. We would set that up in our pre-stage in Jamf Pro, and then we could go ahead and send out a mass action remote command for any existing devices that are already out there. And this is what it would look like here as far as your experience in your Jamf Pro. So we do have a new systems extension payload that allows admins to pre-approve different team IDs for specific system extensions, and this requires macOS Catalina. So I'm sure you guys heard, as I mentioned earlier, we acquired Digital Security. Also, previously, I think back in May or June, we acquired Zulu Desk, which was another MDM provider that was focused on education, and we rebranded that product as Jamf School. Additionally, last October at JNUC, we announced that we acquired Orchard and Grove, the makers of Nomad. We now have a product called Jamf Connect, which is for cloud-based IDPs. If you have an on-prem Active Directory environment, Nomad's available for free, and we plan on supporting that. There's no sunsetting or anything like that that we're aware of.
You just don't know Joel.
I was gonna say, till Joel and Josh get tired of updating.
I have updates about that myself. But the stream has to be kept.
So, if you follow Digital Security, you probably know what they're working on. With Jamf becoming more of a portfolio company, it's out there that people want like a built for Mac enterprise endpoint solution. If you are going to JNUC, you'll hear at the keynote about an update on that. If you're not going to JNUC, definitely stay tuned for the live stream of the keynote, or I'm sure you'll hear the news. But that's on Tuesday, November 12th. If you want to learn more, here's the link for our website for Digital Security. And now to fun stuff. So I tried to get some swag to bring in here today, but they answered the Jira ticket yesterday, so and I put a ticket in a couple weeks ago. So, we have a new program called Jamf Heroes. We announced it at JNUC last year, and it was initially like an invitation-only program. I was like the number 8 person on there. I had like the number 8 in points. You're a Jamf Hero.
I was number 3 for like a year.
Yeah. So I'm a huge advocate of Jamf Heroes. It's essentially a customer advocacy program. So you would essentially sign in. You would complete different tasks that they have. Anything from getting your Jamf 200, 300, or 400 certification, you'll get allotted points when you upload your cert. If you answer some questions about your Jamf Pro instance, you'll get some points, and then you can turn them in for prizes. Anything from Jamf hoodies, all the way up to AirPods, 30 minutes with a product manager, water bottles, all kinds of fun stuff. So if you guys want to join, you just have to be a Jamf Pro customer, and then you could see me afterwards and I'll sign you up. But it's fun. I was pretty addicted to going in there and getting free stuff, because who doesn't love free stuff? Any questions? Cool. I condensed a lot in there and I took some stuff out because I didn't know how much time I would have, but awesome.
So what was Jamf School? I don't think I've seen that.
So what
Jamf School.
What is it?
Yeah.
So Jamf School, it uses a lot of the features of Jamf Pro. However, it's all done through config profiles, so you're not able to push out policies. The other big differentiator is there's a Jamf parent app, a Jamf teacher app, and there's another app. Can't think of it. Jamf student, yeah. So yeah, it's more for K through 12. It's cool because the teacher could go on the teacher app and control the student's iPad. If the student takes the iPad home, the parent can scan a QR code and they could set limits on the iPad use when the iPad's at home. So it's a really neat application. I really didn't get a chance to play around with it that much just because in my specific role I'm more focused on Jamf Pro, but Yeah.
I know Jam Parent was brought over around ISTE. Jam Parent was dropped for Jam Pro usage. Is there any talks of Jam teacher and student being brought over to Jam Pro as well?
Yeah, that's actually a question that was in our Slack channel earlier today. A lot of people are requesting that just because, again, going back, you can't have those policies in Jamf School like you can with Jamf Pro. And a lot of our existing K through 12 orgs are already using Jamf Pro and are not using Jamf School. So there is some feature requests and stuff like that. I don't have like an official, yes, they're absolutely going to do that. But I'm sure if there's use cases out there, they might look into it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. If you have any other questions, see me at the end. And if you want to sign up for Jamf Heroes, let me know and I'll get you signed up.
You're welcome. I got my freebies from Heroes. I got AirPods and I think this.
Yeah, I have 2 of those, 2 hoodies, a bunch of water bottles. I was sad when they had to shut down my account.
Why'd you shut it down? Because you're an employee, yeah.
You have to pay for your swag now that you're an employee?
Yeah, this.
I have my ways of getting it. Like at JNUC, I'll be working at Jamf Heroes Booby Clinton. Yeah.
Okay.
And we do get our.
If I have to get up in the middle of this, it's not you. It's literally.
We do get a.
Don't worry, I'll take it
for
personal.
everyone,
I'm gonna be fancy. I'm gonna use the
Ooh.
remote.
You need to say
Use your.
This way. This way.
There you go.
Watch
Watch
right
right
there. Yeah, it's my work phone. It's not paired.
Gotcha.
Personal work,
Smart way.
So we had a lot today, and I just want to take a little time to talk about a open source software that I worked on that we're actually using called Loan Shark. How many people actually have a loaner pool?
I used to.
I used to. So decent amount. How many can you confirm that you get at least 70% returned? Yeah, those are the last in the room. Okay. So that's where Loan Shark will come in. So a little bit about me. I'm Tyler Morgan. I'm a software engineer at a local cable company.
Small mom and pop shop.
Yeah, just a mom and pop shop,
Down the corner.
So I've been with the company I'm working for now for about 4 years. In those 4 years, when I first started, we had a really good Mac pool for loaners, and slowly they started dwindling. So we had this tall stack of Mac loaners, and then people would just loan them out, and they would not come back. One by one, our pool kept going down. Within probably about 7-8 months, our pool was pretty much gone. So when I was actually talking to some of the users when I was first there, a lot of it was around people just didn't know where to return their devices. Some people didn't know how long they had the loaner for. Some people were like, oh, I have it for 2 weeks. Okay. Some others, just opened up that drawer and stuck it in there, and then one of their new hires, oh, here, have your local IT image it for you. Here you go. Off. Or if someone needed the loaner for a little bit longer, they didn't know who to contact. So that's where Loan Shark, that's where I thought of using Loan Shark and building it. So I really just want to show you a little glimpse of it. So it has a loan period expiration, so it actually logs the user out. It allows you to use Jamf Pro using the UAPI to actually authenticate, and then you can do extensions too. So I just want to show you a little bit about it right now. So it has built-in notifications. You can log in using your Jamf Pro username and password, which can be tied to LDAP. You can configure it for however long you want. Usually our default is 30. You put in the user information, so you just put in all the different information, phone number, email address. The tech would also put the information in. I'm still working on using the UAPI to auto-populate some of that if you're using Jamf. But Loan Shark takes all of that and actually parses it and puts it into a P list or into some preferences that will actually be used later in the agent menu. And then we'll assign it, and then the device will actually be assigned, and then you can check up at the top, and you can see it right there. 30 days, and you can request an extension. You know, if you're going to the furnace party. So this will actually, and it's a little bit quick, but this will actually open up a email, and it will automatically have the justification included, and it will email the original the person that set the loaner. So it will automatically do that. Now, if you get a loaner request and you want it approved, you can log in again using your Jamf Pro username and password using LDAP. Then you can actually provide the extension, and then you just put in who is actually extending it for an audit trail of some sort, and there you go. It's been extended. And it has different information. As I said, it actually parses everything, so it has who the loanee is and who the point of contact is. And the nice thing about that is with the launch daemon, it actually has a script to see if there's another user that has not been authorized to use it, logs in, it automatically copies over the user's plist and kicks them off. And it'll have like who the actual point of contact is, and then whoever the point of contact is, they can actually go in and see who it was actually loaned to. So some of the things when I was building out LoanShark, I sat down and it was like, what if we had certain things? So one of the big things was, what if we were able to use the built-in macOS notification system? So LoanShark actually uses the built-in notification system and handles everything as a regular app usually would. And then what happens if we were able to just have LDAP, have someone join the company and not have to worry about sharing a password or a specific user, you don't want them touching loaner devices because they're known to get sticky fingers. You can actually set that up, so you can actually only have certain groups access to LoanShark. And then what happens if, no offense to the Jamf person in the room, but what happens if I didn't want to go with Jamf? I'm going to use Monkey or roll my own. LoanShark, I wanted to have a shared secret method, so I can put in a password or passcode, and it will automatically allow me to configure it or manage it. And then it has to have some way of extending it, because you always have people that have different things, and it's like, I need it for a little bit longer. So that's where some of the features of LoanShark came from. And all those what ifs became a reality when I built LoanShark. And I haven't found any other tool that does it. So user experience was a big thing for me when it comes to LoanShark. I didn't want it just to log the user off, because you can do that with the launch agent or launch daemon to just kick the user off. But I wanted to give them a little bit of a visual representation of how long they have until they're logged off, but at the same time, a point of contact, who to call, who to contact, who to complain to, and also you can include text on what exactly you're wanting the user to do. Hey, return this to your local IT at this location. And it also has the ability to do automation, which is a little bit more on the advanced side. That's all in the wiki, but it does allow you to do some automation for further enhancing the user experience. And it's very easy to configure. It's all plist or configuration profiles. For testing, you can use defaults, but I still recommend configuration profiles. And security. LoanShark was built with security in mind. It actually uses a SHA-256 hash for this shared secret. So in the plist, it's not actually in plain text. It's using the industry standard of SHA-256, and it just SHAs the actual passcode that you put in and compares it to what it knows. And if it doesn't match exactly, then it says that you're not authorized. So you have to have the SHA exactly the same, which if you know the passcode, you won't have a problem. Another big thing is it actually runs in user space. So if for whatever reason the code does get compromised, it's not able to spread to another application, it can't do anything maliciously, it's all held within the user bounds. Another thing is it's actually fully sandboxed, which is heavily constrained by Apple. So it can't touch another app, it can't do anything outside of its own little sandbox. It doesn't even know anything outside of its own little sandbox. The deployment is very easy, and I want to show you that real quick. You literally install a package. So your configuration profile will be applied either through Jamf Pro or your MDM of choice, or you can manually install it, or a plist. You just install a package, and with Catalina, you have to allow the notification. But it's that easy. One click and you're done. Now, it is still under testing for Catalina, but from what I've been able to test, all the main functionalities of Loanshark work on Catalina on the latest beta. So, and if you're interested in Loanshark, feel free to join the Loanshark channel on the Mac Admin Slack. We also have a wiki. I'm still working on it, but everything's there. It's just a matter of a cleanup. But feel free to swing by and take a look at the wiki. And then you can also follow me on GitHub or Twitter. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions? I know there's a lot in a very short time.
So, if you, I haven't looked yet, but are you signing and notarizing the package?
I am not.
safely?
I am not. That's on to whoever is doing it, because it's open sourced, and I wanted to keep it that way. So whoever is using it should have their own signing and notarizing.
So you recommend people fork your project in order to do
Yes.
that?
I would recommend forking it and keeping it up to date, mainly just because if for whatever reason I either stop supporting it, which I don't plan on it, but or if someone decides to take it over or anything along those lines, I don't want to have them pretty much rely on me to keep everything up to date. Good question though.
Is it completely written in Swift?
Yes. Still working on converting it to Swift 5, but it is written in Swift 4.2, I believe. Yeah, well, and there's also some stuff written in Python and Bash and all that good stuff, and AppleScript. A little bit of everything.
Where did you get the awesome icon?
That was my next question.
I actually, trying to be as publicly correct as I could, I searched on Google where to different publicly available allowed ones, and I found a guy, and he's like, well, you could just take it and change it up or whatever, and because I told him I wanted the background out of it, and he's like, yeah, okay, just take the background out and you're fine. So I found it was just one of those hole-in-the-wall websites of a guy just trying to get his content out there, and he had a lot of different cartoons, and a lot of them were very similar to. Yeah, it's not gonna go back. Oh yeah, there we go.
You give him a name.
Yeah, we need a name for the shark.
There you go.
If you guys can think of a name.
Because you know how much Joel loves naming all the animals with Nomad, you gotta name the shark.
Maybe Joel can think of a name.
Don't let Joel leave.
No.
But yeah, he was actually just
We can name Joel.
Joel the shark. I don't think you'll enjoy that.
He's not wearing bright enough clothing for it.
That's true. But yeah, that's where the actual icon came from.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
You gotta go with that marble alliteration, with the L. Lenny the Loan Shark.
That's cool. I had a loaner pool at the university that I worked at, and that would have been a nice addition because I used to just send out messages through Jamf to them.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit more in your face. Also, we used paper forms there for loaning out, so that would have been kind of nice for requesting extensions and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we actually, when I first started on the Windows side, we actually had a thing called a time bomb, and so Serge was actually working on something, and I took it over and got it to working functional state, but then High Sierra and all that stuff came along and broke it, and also I built this with the original name of Time Bomb. My boss pulled me in the office and he's like, you can't go around the office saying time bomb. Someone will run out of the building.
You don't play now. My time bomb's going off.
So I then sat down and tried to figure out the different names, and that's where Loanshark came.
Nice.
But the original script was written in Bash, and AppleScript was the original one. So, and then I generated an original one that was very basic that we're still using today, but it doesn't use notifications fully. It doesn't have all the security features that Loanshark has now. And the community has driven a few things too. So
You're hoping to expand it to like have some sort of like phone home where it actually keeps track of information that was out, or
that's where the automation comes in.
Ah, nice.
It actually has
sends emails or something.
Yeah, so you can actually request an extension, and it will automatically open up the user's default mail application and include the different things in there. And then if you want to use the command line interface, you can actually do a -- status, and it will actually tell you the status of it, of active. Right now it's just kind of like verbiage, so it's active, not set, warning, which is usually less than 15 days, or critical, which is less than 5 days, or expired. And then you can then also get the loanee information of who it is, their email address, and their phone number.
Nice.
All from the command line interface. So you can use Jamf or whatever application you guys want.
It's cool.
Can you move that? Does that record as an extension attribute in Jamf, or is that?
Well, you would have to generate your. So I'm still working on some of the extension attribute stuff, but I have the script in there that you can just pretty much copy and paste into your own extension attribute, and it will automatically run and spit it up. So, well, thank you all.
All right, thank you, Tyler. So, I don't really have a lot of time left.
Take it easy.
We do have a couple of minutes for open discussion if anybody wants to talk about it.
I have something, but the screen's going to
Okay. Anybody want to talk about non-NDA stuff?
One thing I forgot for the what's new stuff is Nomad 1.2
Oh, right.
was released.
1.2. Nomad 1.2. So it's a new version of Nomad. So since we invoked Joel's name earlier, we should give him a shout out for that. And if there's nothing else, then I guess we'll call it. What? Do you have something?
I was waiting.
Oh, you're
I
waiting.
do have something, but I'll wait till anything else has something.
All right. Not, we'll cut the stream and we'll see you all maybe in December. We'll let you know.
I do have
Doesn't
something,
snow.
but yeah. I need to
All right.